It's 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, April 6, 2024, and moving the cows to the next row here. I believe this is the 9th row, so we have 3 more to go after this one. Rammy's here with me. He's following me because I could not find the nipple to feed him with. My son lost the bottle in the pasture somewhere, and there's no chance we're ever going to find that, especially not in time to feed him. Where's Blackie? I think Blackie's down there. I'll just leave it open for a while. Let Blackie come when Blackie's good and ready. So he's probably down there with the calf. So this area, there's just not a lot of grass. And the eastern part of this row, there's tons of grass. So what I've decided to do was I'm basically giving them a double section right now. So there's 14 sections. For 7 rotations, I give them 2 sections per rotation. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving them extra sections. So 2 extra sections, so 4 total, so double, plus the hay. So, hey Daniel, you can't close that till all the cows cross.
All the cows have crossed.
No, go look at the end. Do you see that down at the end? You thought all the cows had crossed, they hadn't. Anyway, yeah, Blackie's with her calf. So, so what we'll do is we'll use up extra sections in this early part of the rotation, and then we'll just give them 1 section instead of 2 at the end. Everything should balance out. So yeah, the grass is kind of bad here. I kind of wish I could just skip this area, but the way I've got the rotation set up, I really can't. It'd be really hard to rope this area off so they don't graze here at all. And I'm hoping there's enough hay there to kind of, balance everything out. So I watched the shepherdess video on prepping, and she talks about the disasters that it's just we don't have a culture of storage anymore, of reserves, of savings. And not to sound too conspiracy theorist, but I mean it's not a theory, it's a fact. If you read economic books from quote unquote the other side, the people that are advocating for government spending and high taxes and let's soak the rich and help the poor with subsidies and welfare and stuff like that, it's very intentional. They talk about it in, I took a macroeconomics class and they talked about this. They talked about what they're doing and why they're doing it, and why they think it's a good idea. So this is what they're doing. They are trying to convince American people to consume. They want us to just keep buying stuff, just buy. They don't want us to produce, and they certainly don't want us to save and store, right? When somebody takes their paycheck and saves it, to them, rather than spending it, to them, that person is destroying and ruining the economy. And so they've really tried hard to override American culture, what made us America, what made America great in the first place, and replace it with this new consumer culture where everybody has a job, everybody rents an apartment, nobody owns anything, nobody saves, nobody stores, and we're all controlled by the government. We don't own guns. We don't have rights. We can't say whatever we like. We can't criticize certain groups of people. And we basically live kind of like in the story 1984, but more likely the story of, oh gosh, what's that other one? Where they create a utopia where everybody's on drugs all the time. And Spock, Leonard Nimoy was in that film they made of that. I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, so they want us to live basically like animals. And the reason why, it's pretty clear why they want this, what their ultimate goal is and why they're doing this. And the answer is they're just evil. They're bad people, They're the kind of people the Bible warns you about. They worship not the God of nature. They worship the God of their own creation. They worship wealth. They worship material goods. They worship their own bodies, their own intellect, their own minds. And they set aside the counsel of God. They set aside Christian principles. And they think Christ is stupid. It's just a fairy tale, or even if you can prove it historically, factually true, it's pointless. It doesn't really mean anything, So anyway, with that out of the way, I'm going to tell you what's really going on and why I'm farming. Okay, so I told you what's really going on. They're trying to deprive us of all our rights and our humanity and turn us into automatons to be cared for. That's disgusting. Red, I think you might have the runs there. Yeah, Red, you need some hay. She has good condition though. Anyway, so what do you do about it? Well, the answer is you stop playing their game. You get off of their playing field. You stop listening to them. You stop accepting their ideas as fact. You question everything that you're told, which is, Descartes, Rene Descartes. That's the foundation of modern science. Somebody tells you something, you say, well, I don't know if you're lying or telling the truth. How can I tell? Right? So that's what you got to do. Is you have to disengage. Having a job is kind of a stupid idea, especially with the way that the taxes and the laws are set up. The IRS has made it infinitely more better to become a contractor, to sell your services rather than to have a job, right? Because you can deduct all your business expenses. Whereas if you're an employee, maybe if you buy a book, you can deduct that as an expense, but otherwise your commute time, the meals that you buy, those aren't deductible. So contractors are good. Even better, owning a business. You got to own assets. It's always been that way. You got to own stuff, right? It's not about your skills. It's not about who you know. It's about what you have, right? And you have to have stuff. You have to own something. You have to start saving, right? There's that idea of paying yourself, right? Take some of the money out of your paycheck and set it aside for yourself. And you might say, well, I really want to go on a vacation, or I've always wanted to see Hawaii. No, that's not what it's for. It's for buying something that produces wealth so that you can start compounding the wealth on wealth, right? Good example, right? Own a cow. A cow every year gives you a calf, and that calf is worth more than the cow, right? What instrument, if you buy a bar of gold and you store it safely, does that bar of gold multiply into 2 bars of gold? If you buy a share of stock, like let's say I buy Microsoft stock, a year later, is it double in value? Cows do that, right? Plant some seeds. Put some seeds in the ground. How many seeds do you get back? Now, all of these things require labor. It requires thought and intelligence. It requires, acquiring some kind of land or access to land. Leasing is probably the best idea if you don't have the wealth to afford to buy it. But this is the reality is you've been programmed since birth to consume, because people in charge don't like you. They don't like the fact that you have natural rights. They want to take away all of your natural rights, and they want to turn you into slaves, right? So you need to own something. You need to develop that something. You need to accumulate assets. My whole career, I was saving my money as much as I could. I was living like a poor person. I remember one year for Christmas, one of the families in our neighborhood, they had all these gifts. And I knew for a fact that family was on assistance. They did not have money to spend. And they bought their kids a bunch of gifts. And my kids, they got like one gift each, like $30, $10, something like that. I don't know what it was at the time. Here comes the last cow with a new calf. And so we sacrificed a lot. We didn't eat out. We learned to cook. We made most of our own food. I brought food to work. I didn't buy lunch. I brought it to work. Everybody thought I was weird. Then they realized how much they were spending on lunch every year. And then all the other coworkers started bringing their own lunch. I didn't drink coffee. That was a religious thing. But also, I think handing $7 over to Starbucks every morning is a stupid idea. Why don't you give that $7 to yourself? $7 times 300 days in the year, that's $2,000. That's 2 cows, right? Go buy 2 cows instead of cups of coffee, right? Save up to buy land. Don't go in debt. Debt's a bad idea. Debt's a really bad idea. Debt's a really bad idea. Oh my goodness, that's a bad idea. My great grandpa owned tons of land in Texas. He was a very wealthy guy, and he got involved in the stock market back in the 1920s. Well, we all know what happens in the 1920s. he made a bunch of money and he decided he was going to make even more money, so he borrowed money to buy stock. And when the stock market crashed, he had to sell everything he had. So my great grandma, she went from riches to rags because of debt. Right? Debt's a stupid idea. Save your money. You know, I like the way Greg Judy does it. He says, my cows bought this property. Right? He sold cows. He saved the money from those sales of the cows. Then he bought property. It's all about saving. It's all about storing. It's all about parsimony. That's a word that people don't even know what it means anymore. Right? Doing more with less. That's why I haven't bought a tractor. I'm not going to buy a tractor. I might rent a tractor. Right? My neighbors are good enough to let me use their tractor. I feel bad because I am kind of, stealing from them. But thankfully, my neighbor allowed me to pay him with bales of hay, so at least I paid for the use of the tractor. I don't feel bad anymore. But doing things like that, like you don't need to own a tractor. You don't need to own a car, a nice car, If it has 4 wheels and gets you to work, it's good enough, right? So thinking like that. Anyway, so prepping. What are we prepping for anyway? Yeah, there could be some natural disaster. Something terrible could happen with the economy. The real reality is day to day, people suffer from all kinds of disasters. They lose their job. Somebody gets sick or injured. Something really bad happens. Your grandma dies, right? Your grandma dies and you want to go be at the funeral. Unless you have $2,000 in the bank, that's not going to happen easily. Are you going to whip out your credit card and rack up credit card debt and pay 20% interest for the next 10 months trying to pay that off? That's a ridiculous idea. Why don't you just save a couple dollars? The dead grandma fund, Your kid decides to get married, right? Are you going to go into debt so your kid can have a good wedding? Save your money. Save your money. Save your money. Save your money. Save your resources. Don't spend what you don't need to. Disasters happen all the time. You have your budget. Things come up, right? I'm sorry, 19, you lost your calf, but you weren't supposed to have a calf, and I don't know how you conceived. My calculator must have been off. Right? Anyway, guys, that's what I got to tell you. There are people out there, they want you to be slaves. They're telling you to do stupid things. They say go out there and borrow money, use a credit card, go buy things you don't need. Rely on the restaurants and the apartments and everybody else to supply you with everything you need. You don't need to own, you don't need to save, you don't need to grow. No, don't do that. Do what your ancestors did. Save, own, grow, learn, right? Have a great day, everybody. Bye.